Yeah, it's a real simple agenda and it's wide open. I think anyone can raise their hand at any point. And I know you've done a good job moderating that, Ken. We're just going to give Chris a chance to kind of open it up for really any questions. And he wanted to give an update on what's going on with MLR, which I think is really nice. They do a good job updating people, but it's also nice. I know Chris is a leader in that group. I like this, Ken. This is good.
Even had the right uniform on.
Yeah.
So that, as my son, his teammate from Loud Rugby, bring me dinner.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So Chris is going to give an MLR update and then kind of an update on what's going on with OGDC. And then Andrew is going to talk about the draft. And all of us are here to help answer any questions that Andrew, we're just here to support Andrew and talk about what his goals are for building the team through the draft. So I saw a lot of questions posted online about the draft. There's probably some maybe not correct information out there. And I think Andrew will be able to clarify some of what happens and doesn't happen.
So, hey, Tim, are you able to watch and monitor the chat group? Or would you like me to do that tonight?
You do that really well. So,
all right.
if you want to submit questions.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put turn off my video so I can eat and not look.
Oh, I don't want to do that to you. I'll do the chat.
And no, I'll monitor the chat group though.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to on video myself and eat and then monitor.
Okay, sounds good.
That's all you, Tim.
Awesome. So for those of you that don't know, this is Chris Dunlavey, and he's our owner and chairman and is involved in the day-to-day running of the club.
Great. Thank you, Tim. So first of all, thank you everybody for being here this evening. Really appreciate not only the interest, but you guys taking the time to visit with us and keep up to date with what we've been doing. I know Ken and Tim have been running an excellent series of educational sessions for coaches and administrators over the last several weeks. This one, because we're sharing some information about where the league is going and where the organization is going, we thought we'd open up to a little bit broader group. So I think this is including invites from the supporters page, the OG supporters page as well. So welcome all of you. Great to have you here. I'm going to try to keep my comments brief. I thought you might find it interesting for me to share a few headlines of what is going on with MLR as a league, and then what OG is up to here in the DMV. And I'd be happy to respond to any questions about either league business or Old Glory business as we go along. And I know Andrew's going to want to talk about the draft and our general team assembly process in a little bit more detail. So to start off with, MLR is amazingly in the midst of a worldwide pandemic and, of course, a great amount of social unrest in the States within the last couple of weeks, doing better financially and economically and in terms of its prospects than almost any other sports organization I've seen out there. As a league, the MLR is weathering the storm of the current economic challenges very well, although we did have to cancel the balance of our 2020 season. It remains the case that we are here 3 years into the MLR experiment and healthy and growing. The league is adding 2 expansion teams in the coming year in Los Angeles and Dallas, although that will be a net gain of only 1 because Colorado did in fact withdraw from the league at the end of this season. That was not a surprise. They had planned to do that from much earlier in the season. We have also hired within the last 9 months a new commissioner, George Killebrew, former member of the Dallas Mavericks, organization, and he's currently very actively building capacity in our league office. That includes some negotiations that are underway right now to potentially sign on a presenting sponsor for the league. Would really be the first very significant league level partnership we've had since the league's inception, which I'm hoping will be announced within the next couple of weeks. And the league is planning to return to play in February of 21. Now, of course, we are going to have to be guided by public health policy and what kind of limitations are in place in all of the different jurisdictions where we play. But right now, we are planning as though mass gatherings will be allowed again in each of our cities by February of 21, or at least of a scale that MLR plays at. And we are planning to launch a full MLR season again in 2021, playing out the full season, hopefully without interruption this time around. Even though we have had to cancel the second half of the 2020 season, I hope you've seen that the league has been making efforts to stay very visible throughout this period and very connected with its fans. The most recent example, of course, is the collegiate draft held over this weekend, which I think was a terrific way of keeping our fans aware that we're growing and adding to our league. And it was the very first effort in what I'm sure will become a very distinguished tradition of drafts annually. Before that, immediately on the heels of having canceled the balance of the season, the league was one of the first professional organizations to get out there in the public eye with the virtual MLR competition, the computer game-based competition that went on between the leagues for a series of weeks. Got a lot of recognition, particularly in sports business press, about having done that and keeping fans engaged with what we're doing throughout that period. There is also continuing discussion underway about what level of engagement we'll be able to do between now and February of 21. There's some talk of some potential exhibition games to keep fans engaged and keep activity going. Obviously, there are some challenges with that, particularly with the many teams who have a lot of their key players who are foreign players and currently located overseas. But there is talk about the potential of some level of exhibition games being held between now and February. No confirmed information on that yet. And there are a lot of interesting things, items of discussion underway at the league level right now that I'd be happy to answer questions about if you're interested later. One of the first is there's a lot of debate over how many international players we should continue to allow on each team's roster. Right now, of course, we're limited to 10 on the philosophy that although we might be able to elevate the level of our gameplay, our rugby, with more international players, it's very much a part of our mission to cultivate development of American players, and keeping a limit on that, of course, encourages development of domestic talent. And for that reason, although we are allowing a certain number of international players on each team, the league for the first time this year is building in incentives for teams to really focus on the development of the grassroots pathway within their local markets. And we're anticipating Old Glory will be responding to that, taking another step next year in our partnership with organizations regionally, and more formally building some pathway elements into our development plan. There's a lot of discussion still underway about what our salary cap should be and the rate of increasing it over time. Right now, we've decided to keep it at the same level it was this year for the 21 season. But there is a lot of active talk about how quickly we should increase that in the interest of more and more professionalizing the game and making it more attractive and livable for the players involved. As far as Old Glory, I'll just make a few brief comments, and then again, sticking to headlines and happy to answer any other questions as we go along. We are absolutely committed to returning in 2021 and being part of MLR's next season. Couldn't be more pleased with how things went for us right up until the league canceled the season in March. Thanks to our coaching staff and our rugby operations people, of course, we were off to a 4-1 start after having taken both of our preseason games. We are, of course, returning with the same rugby operations staff and leadership. Andrew Douglas, who's on the call with us here, is continuing to steer the ship and is in the process of building his coaching staff for 21, as well as being heavy into contract discussions with a number of players right now. I'll leave Andrew to comment on that. I will only say that we are very, very proud of the job Andrew has done. Andrew has been given free rein to do everything that in the United States we would call the general manager's job, as well as the head coach's job. And I think it's obvious to everybody the talent that Andrew was able to attract to our team, recruit locally and build internationally through his network of contacts was really, really impressive. And the more you sit and think about the kind of talent we've got on the pitch, and how much came from our local region, but how far we reached around the world to get it. It really is impressive, and that's all very much kudos to Andrew. I'll let him comment to the degree he cares to on what he's putting together for this year. I will say that we are pleased to hear that there is an interest in returning as many of our players as from this very successful team as possible. But Andrew is obviously, through the draft, through his recruiting domestically and his recruiting internationally, is very actively looking to improve the team any way he can. On more of the business operations side, we are anticipating negotiating again to have all of our games carried on NBC Sports Washington, right alongside the Caps and Wizards and other DC area teams. We are evaluating our continued commitment to our venue location, meaning we love Catholic University and its location, and we'd like to play there as much as possible for as long as we can. At the same time, I think we all agreed, especially seeing it on television, that pitch that has to serve many needs for Catholic University is not exactly the best one for our game. So we are considering some alternatives where we might be able to identify a pitch that will be more perfectly suited to rugby, particularly to the wide open, fast-paced kind of game that Andrew is constructing a team to play, and considering whether we have some combination of options for upcoming seasons. All of our partners are hanging with us very well throughout this transition period. Our group of sponsors, our season ticket buyers, everybody has been extremely supportive and extremely committed to stay with us and continue with us going into next year. So we're very excited that we still are going to have not only the rugby quality on the pitch, but the economic vibrancy and the financial capacity to deliver a quality organization going into 2021. So I think, Tim, that's the range of things I wanted to comment on as highlights and by way of update on the league and OG. And as I said, I'd be happy to answer any questions as we go through this discussion.
Hold on, we got one here. Someone said no football lines, please.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. You know, the one thing we didn't like about Catholic University was we don't have a lot of flexibility there to change that field. Catholic it's a university. We tried. Yeah, believe it, we tried. But they absolutely have to put student athletics first. and they wouldn't give us a lot of flexibility with doing anything with the surface of that field. It really did affect gameplay at times. And of course, we're committed to delivering the most professional product we can, and that means finding a way to show rugby in its best environment. So we agree. We got to do something about football lines.
There was one other question that I'm just recapping, but that's the only question I've gotten right now.
And guys, I know there's
So I think we're clear. If anyone else has a question for Chris, you can speak up.
and there's some people that can't, for some reason, that don't have audio available to them. If you want to tap in the chat room, Tim and I are monitoring that, and we'd be happy to relay your questions.
Yes, someone asked if there would be a raise in salary cap again, Chris.
Yeah, there will not be this year. Going into 2021, we're going to have the same salary cap we did in 2020. I think that was a heavily debated topic, but considering the state of the economy, the state of most businesses operating within the U.S., it seemed that austerity was the right theme of the day. So we decided to hold the line for the coming year. I am certain it will start increasing again thereafter.
I think that's it. And then we can certainly, and we can, if anyone thinks of anything, they can post it, and I'll be happy to recap it for them. And then I can even follow up with you if we don't get to it. I'm happy. Oh, here we go. You're gonna like this one. Comments on the naming of the LA expansion team. Is there an issue with that? Also the appearance of one ownership group owning two teams. I mean, these are good questions.
Absolutely. No, they are good questions. I'll comment on the two teams first. I think all of the owners are committed to there being a league that either maintains a high level of competition with a healthy number of teams and hopefully a gradually growing number of teams over time. The situation where there is now one owner owning two teams, I would say was never viewed as an ideal circumstance, but it did occur at a time when there was a concern we were at risk of losing one or more teams just because of financial viability. And the owner who now owns two stepped in to support and ensure the longer term viability of one team. And so I think if you think about the lesser of two evils, we definitely decided it was better to have cross ownership than to lose any of our teams. And we are all now, every team is better capitalized, and any of the ones we were worried about have had investor support that we're much more confident now in everybody's long-term viability. I think it's best if I don't comment on the name. I think they, and you can read from that what you will. I will say that the way our operating agreement works, it gives each team a lot of flexibility with how they brand and market themselves in their own market. And at least right now, there aren't a lot of rights for other owners to approve or contest names that get chosen. You can be certain that the LA team name has gotten a lot of discussion at the league level at two of our more recent meetings. And I think the reasons for that I have seen well discussed in social media. So I think what I can assure people is that all the league owners are very keyed into the same issues that we're seeing discussed. And I'm not sure the book is totally closed on where we're going with this.
That was a very good answer. We got another question, and you'll love this one, Chris, and I'll probably pose this one to Paul and get back with Paul's answer. Has owning a pro sports team has it been what you thought it would be?
No, it's been better and worse than I thought it would be. I think, you know, I never get tired of saying neither Paul Sheehy, who's my main partner alongside the Scottish Rugby Union, or I mean, none of us wanted to own this team just for the sake of owning a professional sports team. We got into this because we believe in rugby. We believe in the values of the sport. We believe that it should grow in the U.S. and that the United States can become a real power internationally in rugby if we do this right, and that it can be a great contrast to the personality of a lot of other U.S. sports that we think have some unseemly characteristics to it. So we're in this because we believe in rugby. So the great thing about it, the thing that's been better than I expected, was the degree to which we get to engage ourselves in the game and the community and the culture that we love most. I mean, you're here because you all know it. You know, there's nothing quite like the rugby community here in DC and internationally. You play the game, you get involved in it, you have a beer with your friends afterwards, and you become part of an international brotherhood and sisterhood that has connections from New Zealand to the UK. And you know, the degree to which we've been able to participate in that, connecting with other owners, connecting with unions overseas, and understanding the game better has just been phenomenal. It's really a dream come true for rugby loving people. The way it's been worse than I expected is there have been even more financial challenges than we expected. And you can imagine COVID-19 pandemic and civil unrest are parts of that challenge, and the economic conditions we're facing are part of that challenge. So it's only been with an awful lot of work and an awful lot of care and worry that we've been able to make this happen. So I think both on the good side and the bad side, it's surprised me a little bit, but you know, that's what makes life worth living, right?
I will add to that is essentially I have 4 bosses. I have both the owners, I have Andrew, and I have John. And when I share something with them that's going on in the community, like, hey, we had a huge turnout for a clinic, or we had, you know, this success or that success, everyone's very engaged and is still absolutely committed to growing the game. I mean, that's nice that we're entering our 3rd year, some of us, and we're still plugging away, kind of fighting the good fight. So I'm pretty happy with the response I get from growing the game. We got one more. Is there still a plan for regional combines outside of Old Glory and Capital Selects to recruit and identify talent? I can probably answer that one because it falls under me. We kind of have an open door policy. They give me free reign to go to any rugby, look at any player, and I kind of write it up and send it to Andrew. I'd like to believe that we've never combed everyone we need to comb, and there's young players coming up. As of right now, we don't have any combines on the charts, but I'd be more than happy to run another one. No one says no to that, but you know, Andrew's starting to meet all the coaches and be on a first name basis with them. So we're easy to access. If you know of a player, send them our way. We'll look at them. And then the next question is, at Coach Douglas, if you could snap your fingers and have a player pathway in place in the U.S., would you have a premiership rugby-like pathway where it goes from schools, clubs, to development, to junior academy and senior academy, and get all local talent to play for OGDC, or have a New Zealand rugby-like pathway where the goal is to play and dominate at the national team level, and the rest of the times the players are sharpening their skills playing rugby at the provincial and super rugby level? That's a That's a detailed question. Did you get that, Andrew?
Yeah. No, it's actually a good question, I think, and I think it's something that USA Rugby and MLR needs to address. And from a New Zealand point of view, New Zealand Rugby controls all that. So New Zealand's a centralised contracting model. So the super teams and the Mitre 10 Cup teams are controlled by New Zealand Rugby, and the players are contracted to New Zealand Rugby, similar to how players are contracted to MLR. And that model works really well for us because obviously we're a small nation, 5 million people, and everything's pretty easy to get to. It's either the maximum flight's probably 2 hours from one end of the island to the other. So pretty easy to do that in New Zealand. I think in the States, I don't think it'll be quite that easy, Alex. I think what I would love to see is a really strong high school program. And I think that's New Zealand, South Africa, the big benefit they have, and people forget about this, is they have a massive high school first 15 programs where it's super competitive. It's the number one sport, so they get the best athletes. And those kids, obviously, you can pick the cream of that crop to go through to your academies. And don't underestimate how strong, how important it is for growing the game and or getting a really strong product at the end. And I think people like Warren Gatland have always said the strength about New Zealand is its schoolboy rugby and schoolgirl rugby, how strong that is. So I'd love to see high school rugby become a lot stronger. I know it's quite strong in DC with Gonzaga and St. John's starting to do really well. Schools there, but I would like to see it spread further and develop there. And then I think obviously start to get the kids in academies in their last couple of years of high school, because then you get some influence on them before they go to college or before they join the workforce. And you've got a little bit of, you put your print on them and they want to come back hopefully and play for OG if we're going to do it that way. The idea is obviously you want them to come back to their home and play for their home team. And then obviously colleges, I'd like to see that streamlined, the college rugby, but also get the club rugby where kids who are straight out of school and don't want to go to college have got a pathway too. And I think that's lies with the clubs. In terms of the club rugby, I think that's the obvious choice to me. The easiest choice is to make our club rugby really strong and feed into Old Glory. And, that's hence why we've gone the pathway of capital selects, for example. I am a little bit wary. I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but I think clubs could do a lot better in terms of getting the players in better condition. And I know it's a very amateur game at the club level here, and players are busy with work and everything else, and that's difficult to do. But I think the game would grow so much more at club level if the players were fitter and in better condition, they'd enjoy their rugby more, and you get a better style of rugby. And so there's a win-win there. And then the skill level becomes so much better because physically they're able to cope with those demands. And then I think if we can get a strong club rugby, we're feeding into capital selects, which feeds into Old Glory. That's how I'd see the best solution for us, Alex, working that way. But I think high schools can play a massive part. And I've said to a number of schools, I'm happy to come in and help out with coaching. No one's taken me up on it yet. Gonzaga have once. But I think if we can get high school rugby strong here, that's only going to help the clubs and hopefully get players to keep on coming back to OG. I hope that answers that question, Alex.
No, it was awesome. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. Thanks, Tim.
This is a question from me, Andrew. Would you like to see high school kids playing more 15s?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the reality is, sevens is great. It's great in terms of running with a ball, passing skills, tackling skills. But it is a very different game these days from 15s. Sevens is so much more professional than what it used to be. The two games are only drifting wider apart in the type of athlete they produce. But I think for high school kids, it's great in terms of building up a certain skill level. But you'll only get better at 15s by playing 15s. And that contact area and the contact zone, which is so important, the set piece area, which is so important. I think if, the more you can play it at school, the better. That doesn't say they don't play sevens. Of course they play sevens. And often it's easier purely because of the numbers point of view. Easy to get 7 players than what it is 15. So I understand the reality of that. But the answer to your question, Tim, yes, I would prefer to see more 15s at high school.
Okay. One of the things I was seeing when I was reviewing tape for Andrew on the MLR draft is sometimes there's not a lot of tape of type 5 players. And when I would ask for more, they'd say, well, we only play 7 or 8 15s games a year. And I think even the most person with the least, you know, you don't have to have a lot of experience in the sport to know that if you're only playing 7 or 8 games a year, or 9 games a year, it's very hard to be an effective tight head or loose head prop. It's not something that's easily learned. So I would urge coaches, just from a stand. Andrew, will you allow your players to play in D1 this fall? Will players be spread out to different clubs?
It sounds really easy, but it's not. And the reason it's not is not because I don't want them to play. A lot of it's to do with the contracting models that the MLR runs. So overseas players, no, purely because they won't be in the country. Local players, yes. But the MLR in season won't let them play. If they're contracted to MLR, the MLR will not let them play anything other than MLR purely because of insurance around the working men's comp, which is beyond my pay grade, and trying to understand that, and coming from a country where you pay nothing for medical insurance. I'm still getting my head around it, to be honest. So the majority of local players, yes, can play club rugby and still come into our system. Overseas players, no. And certain pros, no, based on their contracting model of MLR.
Can someone correct me, and I'm sure you will if I'm wrong, you can type in the comments, but I believe there's still a rule with the, like let's say Andrew goes out and sees a guy and he's like, hey, that guy looks like he could make it. I believe he can still play 3 MLR games and remain eligible for D1 if he moves back down, like that, if that happens in the spring, a local player. Am I correct on that, Matt, Robinette? He said to be determined. Okay. To be determined.
I mean,
that was the rule last year.
A classic example of that would be Josh Brown, who is a great OG man. I think he might have played 3 games. I'd have to go back through my game sheets, but I mean, he loves playing for his club. So, and he'd be a guy that I'd be happy for him to play a couple of games. He's great to have in the league. He's great for other players to play with, and a really good pro, Josh. So he's probably in that boat, really, I think. Would be the only one that you'd question.
So my question for Matt is that TBD by capital, or is it TBD by MLR?
Or USA?
Really?
TBD by the new USA structure. We're going to have a lot more autonomy over eligibility and discipline and club management. And so right now, all of those structures are being built. They've seated the club council executive committee, and we're now building from there. So you can say USA Rugby, but since club rugby now has a lot more autonomy and authority over our own game, we've got the people in place to build it the right way.
So, Tim, I think the second part to that question is, will they be spread out to other clubs, or will we focus them on one club? I assume they're talking about the players that have come from the draft, or college kids coming in. I think, Old Glory is the one that's invested in them. So therefore, Old Glory, to me, will have a say in where they go. And that will be bounced on where I think they're going to be looked after in terms of coaching. And in terms of making sure that when they turn up to training, a team's ready to train. So there will be some control over those young kids that we've brought in from the draft or coming in from college that we're ringing and asking to come to the area. We do want them to play for the local clubs, but a little bit of onus back on the clubs to actually provide an environment where they will benefit. Now, I hope that doesn't seem too harsh or callous, but the reality is that we want to grow club rugby in DC and grow it in all areas, including players, coaching, and infrastructure. So, and again, we're happy to help out with anything there that anyone wants help with. We're happy to help out with that. So, and answer that question, we're not saying they're going to go to one club, but I do want them to go to a club where I think they're going to be looked after.
Good. next, if there's not any, let me check here. We were going to talk about the draft review, kind of your thoughts on the draft, Andrew. And I know that was a new experience for you, new experience for John Manson, and a new experience, I guess, for everyone. I mean, we grew up watching it, and I remember when the NBA draft was, man, I was on the end of my seat, so worried that my team wasn't going to get their player. So what were your thoughts on how it went down?
Yeah, I was really skeptical, Tim, to be honest, at the start of this process. I wasn't a great fan of it.
All of us were.
And the reason for that is that, one, I didn't know if MLR was ready for it. Two, we did a really good job last season just doing it ourselves. We went out and recruited kids and worked really hard to find the talent that we got. And the likes of Jack Ascaro and Mike Debulus, Nick Mersham, we got some really, really good kids coming our way. And then before the draft was announced, I'd already sent Casey Renaud down to New Zealand to spend a season down there. So then I was a bit peeved because I'd done all that hard work. Tim had got Casey to contact me. I'd organised Casey to go to New Zealand and play for a club there. And now all of a sudden he could be taken by somebody else who'd done nothing. You know,
I drove to Kutztown twice in the middle of a snowstorm and had to eat at a killer diner and stayed in a $50 hotel room. So I felt like we were invested in him as well as anyone.
But actually, the actual process was actually quite good for me because Tim did all the legwork, to be honest. Tim did all the work in terms of calling coaches, calling players, getting video for me to watch, and did a really good job, actually. I was really impressed with the job Tim did with that. Obviously, as you all know, Tim loves talking, so it suited him down to the ground. But did a really good job of he contacted every coach of players that we were looking at, contacted the majority of players that were in the draft, and got any player I wanted video on. Tim went in and scouted it from somewhere and got it. So we were really well prepared, I thought, for the draft. We had a list of probably 15 guys that I'd ranked 1 to 15. Tim had his thoughts 1 to 15 of who we could take. So we did have a top pick. But the actual draft itself, I thought was really good, actually. For American rugby, it got people excited. And that's what I was really happy to see, is people got excited about rugby and the draft. And I think that's really, really important to see that passion and excitement come through. So I'm swayed to the other way. I'm actually for the draft. I think it can be a really good thing for rugby. I can see Chris Dunlavey smiling at me. So I think it'll actually be, it'll only get better, I think, too. The presentation of the draft on the evening on that Facebook feed, I think, will only improve as well. It was a little bit bumpy at times, I thought, and I'm sure that will improve. And I think kids' video clips need to improve as well, because some of the clips they showed with certain kids didn't do the game justice. So hopefully they can improve that side of it and really try and sell the game to anybody who was watching. In answer to your question, Tim, I'm convinced the draft can be a good thing for USA Rugby, and I'm excited about next year and how it will look.
Since both Tim and Andrew are being characteristically modest, I'll point it out for them. We're really, really happy with how we did. The picks we got were guys that, by rights shouldn't have been available when we got to them, but that Tim and Andrew had been eyeballing for quite some period of time. Really good talent evaluation went into it. Really good decision making on draft day. So we're really happy with how those guys handled our whole process.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. We had a question come in from anonymous iPhone, which is fine. For the second pick, were you settled on Gordon, or if Kruger, Hayes, or Tellis were there, were they under consideration? Also, was there hesitation in selecting Gordon because of the foreign player slot? I can answer the first part of that. I got to leave the foreign player part to Andrew. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew and John, but if we had the fourth pick and the sixth pick, like let's say, or we had ranked the players, I think we were taking Casey Renaud and Matt Gordon. I mean, I could be wrong, but we did not expect to get those players. I can say that. Like it was an emotional roller coaster for me, and we were sitting there in the room, and I knew Andrew liked Casey. Andrew's done the work to work with him. One of his good friends is working with Casey personally, Big Leon. And I could not have been happier. I think our picks, the fact that we had the 11 and 23rd pick and we got those guys, I would have chosen the same if we were number 3 and 4. I just thought we got the right guys for us. Combined with David Beach the night before. I mean, someone commented like, you guys' food bill just went up, and the amount of food we put out before a game is going to have to increase, which is a good problem to have. Were we hesitant to use the foreign player slot? I'm going to use that to Andrew because he's really educated himself on the visa process.
Yeah, I mean, before the draft, I said to Tim, I want big men. So we were looking at type 5 in general was our goal. So locks, props, and big men were our target. I wasn't really worried about anything else. I thought we had that covered. And you can't coach size. You know, I think you can do wonders as coaches, but you can't coach size. And you know, good second rowers in America are pretty rare. So hence our number one target was always Casey for me. And hence why we put the work into him. But then I got a little bit concerned when I saw the media around him. And the part of the issue is the MLR was asking you to give you your top picks to them because they wanted to build up anticipation. But to me, all that did was sell them to the other teams, which I didn't really want to do. So, but Casey was picked up anyway. And so I was always going to take him. And I was surprised at 11 he was still available because, like I said, you can't coach size. And I thought some team strategy was really interesting because they took players that I didn't think would even be drafted. And I thought they could have taken higher, you know, a better quality player and still picked up those players they drafted as a free agent. So, whereas I never thought Casey would last that long. Matt Gordon around the visa. Yep, it was a concern. No doubt about it. I was concerned about it and taking a foreigner spot. In saying that, I want to get Matt's pretty keen to play for the US. So I think if we can get him, he wants to get through, work himself into citizenship and play for the USA. So it's got to be good for US rugby. He's been in the States for 4 years now as a student, obviously. And if we can help him become a US player, even better. But he's a big mobile. He's 6'4". I think he'll be a back rower more so than a second rower. But he's big and physical, which I quite like. If those two had gone, or I didn't have those two available, I probably would have tried for Louis Satama, but he went about 5 or 6. So somebody jumped the gun on that to me. He's a midfielder, purely again just because I saw some size and outright talent there. But Casey and Matt were my two that I really wanted, and luckily we got.
Excellent. We got a question, why were there no Cal players in the draft? And I actually personally called every one of them. And no knock on MLR. I think I'm so excited about MLR every day. The two Cal guys that I had targeted, and actually there was one Cal guy in the draft. Their scrum half, Ken. I know way more about this than I probably even should. Ken, I apologize. I don't want to butcher his last name. He was definitely an option, and if he ever wanted to come East Coast, he's good. But the other two Cal guys I talked to, I mean, they had better jobs than I have. I mean, coming out of college, the one guy's working for LinkedIn, and he has a great position and a great salary. And he literally threw it back on me. He goes, "Well, this is what I'm making at LinkedIn, and these are my benefits." And I'm like, "Well, you obviously have made up your mind." And I said, "Please stay in rugby, and if you ever want to play MLR." But I mean, literally, he had his whole career mapped out. Both guys from Cal were like that. And they asked, someone else asked, have you contacted any other college free agents? We weren't allowed to contact them in terms of speaking about contract until after the draft. So I am in the process. Andrew has selected some, and I'm in the process of inviting guys to just, if they want to come to DC and work with our local clubs and do what all of us did coming up through rugby. I think there's a lot of talent out there. And, Andrew and John have given us really good free reign. Like if there's a kid locally that wants to come to training, they'll take a look at anyone. So the door is open. And then someone asked me some names here. I'm not going to comment on names. And says, are you still in the free agent market for undrafted players? Andrew?
Yeah, we are. We're pretty keen to get some of these kids into the club scene here. I can't contract them purely because of salary cap. I just I don't have enough money to contract everybody, obviously, and I'm here to win a championship, not to just participate at this stage. So I need players that are ready for MLR now. So, but in saying that, yes, I would like to contract players on a trainee contract, which means they can train with us. They don't get paid for that, but there's an opportunity then to go to a full contract. So I'd like to bring 6 or 7 players into the DC area to play for local clubs and then train with DC as well during our training sessions. I'll need help with that from clubs to support them, possibly with things like giving them a place to stay. And if they've got contacts to the workforce where they can help these guys get decent jobs, those sort of things I'll be looking for to help these young men move house, come to DC and support them, because MLR salaries certainly won't. On a trainee contract, it's like I said, it's nothing, it's zip. So if clubs want to help out, we would love to have more of these kids who are free agents in, and then hopefully in 5 years' time, we're really seeing the benefits of that strategy.
And then the next question is, besides OG, who will be the team to beat in 2021?
I think Toronto. It's pretty easy for Toronto because they've got all the Canadian players at their doorstep. So you've got basically an international team playing MLR, and then they can still chuck players in from New Zealand, UK, Australia, South Africa if they want to. So they've got a massive benefit over everybody. Plus Canada's got an excellent academy based in Vancouver, where they've got 23 kids who basically play in their own team every weekend based in the Vancouver competition there, that the Canadians can pull in. We can't pull them in because it'll take over a month for them to get a visa, but Toronto can use them the next day, basically. So if Toronto's not in the top 3, they've got to seriously look at what they're doing, because they've got no excuses. They should be in top 3 every single year of MLR. And if I was the owner and they weren't, I'd be asking some serious questions. So that's how I see it. San Diego, Rob Hoadley's gone from there. Their coach, their head coach, he was a good man, Rob, and a very smart coach. So I think there could be a bit of a change there. I don't know. I think that's probably it for me. I'd say New York will always be there, boxing away. Atlanta will get better, I think. So they're quite young. They just have to learn how to play rugby, I think, a little bit, just to take a few more risks. If they do that, they could be really dangerous. And obviously LA, we don't know what we're going to get at the moment. There's some massive talk around players they're trying to contract. So they could be anything, I think, LA. Seattle, I don't know. You got a downward spiral there from last season. It's always hard to come out of a downward spin. Obviously, it can be done. It's been done multiple times, but there has to be change to do that. And they haven't really changed anything. So I'll be curious to see how Seattle go next season. It'll be interesting.
Thank you. And then someone directly asked, what are the odds of Tendai returning for 2021?
Yeah, tough one because of the way the season finished. I don't know is the honest answer around that. It's going to be hard. He's got a family. He didn't have his family here. And you know, family's massive for him, which we totally understand. And, you know, he's got massive opportunities all around the world as well. So to come to us is obviously financially not the best move for him. That's just the reality of MLR rugby. So I think with a young family, you know, he's got to take care of them, in my opinion. And he's a great man. He's a really good man. We loved having him around. But he's also, you know, he's got to take care of his family and financially. I don't know if MLR can do that for him at this stage. So he's got to think of that first and foremost. In terms of how many players are under contract 2021, a few. I'm not going to say who yet. They'll all be released in due time. But as Chris alluded to earlier, we are trying to get through the core of our team, re-sign them. There will be changes. There will be some players not returning, and there will be some new faces. I mean, there are obvious areas we have to fix in our game. We've got to get better, and that's the hardest thing about coaching, is telling a player who you really like and worked really hard for you that there isn't a space for them the next season. But it's also the reality of a business. And Chris isn't in here for charity. He's in here because he loves rugby, but he also wants to see a championship, as do I. And if I didn't think we're going to win a championship, I wouldn't be here. Simple as that. I'm sure Chris wouldn't keep on doing what he does if we didn't think it's, realistic hope in the next 1 to 2 seasons. For me, I want to win 2021. I wouldn't have said that in 2020 just because I didn't know everything in terms of what we're going. I still don't know everything. In fact, I probably don't know a lot. But I do think we could be a reality for a championship in 2021 if we work hard and improve in all aspects of our game, but especially around the set piece.
The best are when something that we do in America that seems really odd to both Andrew and John, and they'll ask me like, why are you like it's entertaining for me every day when they go, why do you guys do stuff this way? And we go, sometimes it makes me think like, why do we do things this way? Last question there. It says, are there trades in MLR?
Yes, they are. Yes, there are. You can trade players, you can trade salary cap, and you can trade foreign spots. So, for example, I could get a foreign spot from somebody if they wanted a player, or if I said, okay, you can have some salary cap. And vice versa. If I want more salary cap, if Chris is prepared to pay it, I could trade something for that. So yes, there are trades, not just players, but salary cap. Even your draft positioning, you could trade for. So if we wanted the number 1 spot in the draft, we could have gone out and petitioned for that with either salary cap or foreign spots. The number 1 draft pick wasn't, to me, there wasn't value enough in it in giving away any of that, to be honest. So we're going to fill our foreign spots, draft. I'm going to push to the max, much to Chris's dismay. I'm lucky he's understanding about it though, but I want to give him the best product he can get, and I'll do my best to do that for him and for Paul, really. So I'm not too keen to give too much away.
I think we got through everything. And does anyone? This has gone. I'm going to skip this last one just because it's too long, and we can do it for another call. But is there anything else about the upcoming season or dates or return to play? And if not, I really appreciate everyone engaging and the excellent calls. And if there's something you want to message me that just pops into your mind at any time, I mean, these guys are really good about engaging fans and answering every question that's posed. We good? Ken, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So just so everybody knows, this has all been recorded. Hope and I will be posting this onto the Old Glory supporters page and our admin and coaches page for anybody who watches at any time. So I appreciate coaches, Chris, Tim, all your time and answering all the questions from your supporters.
Hey, Ken, I got one question.
Sure.
When Andrew mentioned about having guys play at the club level in the area and meeting a certain, that the club's meeting a certain standard that he is comfortable with from fitness, coaching, etc., is that something that y'all would be willing to communicate, and what that program needs to be to have these kids coming in the area and playing for clubs?
Yeah, definitely, very much so. I want players cared for, because I know as a person when I know someone cares for me, I'm pretty much prepared to do as much as I can for them. And rugby players are no different. If they know coaches and management and the club cares for them, they'll play better for you. And I think one of the great things about OG was Chris and Paul were engaged, and players knew they actually cared about the player, not just about profits, loss, or anything else. Chris and Paul care about the individuals and knew the individuals' names, and I think that was massive for our culture. So for me, I'd like to have a club meeting, to be honest, if I can get in front of all club coaches, if they're prepared to come to a meeting, and I'll go through that and explain it to them. I don't want to tell them how to coach. It's not about that at all. It's not about saying the style of rugby they've got to play or who they have to pick. It's not about that at all. It's just about making sure there's a good structure in place where players are going to be cared for and there's opportunity for them.
All right, guys, I think this was good. And thank you, Ken, as always, for helping organize. And thanks, Chris Dunlavey, for getting on. And of course, Andrew and John.
There's a couple of questions around the union. And I know we didn't really want to go there because it's not our place to. That's with MLR. So we don't have anything to do with that. We don't talk to players about it or to MLR about it. Players representatives that can do that with the MLR, but it's not we're not involved in any of that, and rightly so, I think.
Thank you, everyone. And if you have suggestions for future meetings, I think Ken and I go over these. We need to do them earlier in the week, but this one was great.
Hey guys, I know there's some more chats and private stuff coming in to Tim and me, and we'll be sure to address those and pass them on to our coaching staff and the owners as we possibly can. Thanks for everything tonight, guys. All the participants there and all the coaches and admin. I really appreciate your participation.
Thanks, everyone.
Looking forward to getting back on the field.
Cheers, guys.
Take care.